Hey, what's up YouTube? I noticed that there really aren't any reviews out for the Hakko FX-901 battery-powered wireless soldering iron. And I happened to pick one up recently, so I figured I would do a quick review of it and kind of give you a demonstration and I guess to kind of spoil it, I'm actually pretty impressed with it, so it's kind of what prompted me to go ahead and do a review of it because there aren't any out there yet. I mean, there's some text reviews, like SparkFun sells it, for example, and you can go read through some of the comments. But I haven't seen any video reviews or any people demonstrating it or kind of going over the features. I've seen some like company adverts, but I haven't seen any from actual consumers that I could find at a really quick glance. So this is basically, it's battery powered. It takes 4 AA batteries, and the crazy thing about it is that it is extremely inexpensive. It is $32.07 right as we speak on Amazon, and it is Prime. So what you have here on the bottom is a little slide. You push it up to unlock it, and then the battery cartridge comes out, and it takes 4 AA batteries. It seems kind of cheap. There's some slack in there, but there are 2 springs on this end. Sorry, my lighting's not that great. There are 2 springs on this end that actually give the batteries tension, but inside of here there's no tension. So you can actually hear them rattling around. Anyways, this is extremely light. My first impression of this was that it felt extremely cheap, but it's great actually. So let's put this sucker back in. And this tab is actually the only thing that keeps this from shooting out, because this is the entire cartridge, the battery cartridge, is pushing against those 2 springs that give tension to the batteries. So you push it in, and then you slide this down, and then it holds it in against the springs. Kind of cool. Looks like there's a spot where you could mount a tether if you wanted to. I didn't actually notice that. It comes with this awesome cover, which is sweet because as soon as you finish using it, you could just put this cover on it and then throw it in your bag or whatever. You probably still want to be a little careful, make sure it's on there. I mean, it fits pretty snug. So I'd feel pretty comfortable putting this in my go bag. Not go bag, but you know what I mean. My if I had a mobile electronics bag. Another cool feature, kind of a cool attention to detail. First, they have an opening here where you can see the LED to see if it's powered on or not. Another feature, this part actually doesn't, but there's a little a plastic piece underneath here that switches the switch off. So if you forget to switch it off and you put the cover on it, it automatically turns it off. So you can't have this on here without it being powered off. So that's a pretty cool safety feature. So the very first thing that came to mind for me is how is it possible that 4 AA batteries are capable of making this thing not a pile of crap? And so I just had to buy one to find out. And if it were to be decent, it would actually be pretty handy to kind of have a wireless soldering iron that I can move around my bench. Because right now I'm sitting here at my soldering station, but you know, if I'm sitting anywhere else in the room or anywhere else on the bench away from my iron, you know, I mean, I do have a modular JBC soldering station to where the base unit that, not the base unit that controls it, but the cradle that you put the iron in has a pretty long wire, and you can move it around your workbench so you can solder all over the place. So that does help give a little bit of extension and reachability, but not like something like this is going to do. If I needed to go out and solder something in my car, screw unhooking this and taking it out there, I'd just use this guy right here. Assuming it's decent, which I'm going to tell you now, it is actually not that bad. This is the packaging. It just had that molded plastic crap on the front. Says safe, no spark, no flame. I guess I saw an actual Hakko advertisement video that showed some. I didn't realize they made soldering irons that use sparks. I guess kind of like a welder. That's kind of sketchy, considering if you're soldering something on a PCB, you could the high enough, if it's high enough voltage to be sparking, it could potentially be cooking something on your PCB. So It says developed by a leading soldering manufacturer. That is definitely right. Hako is probably one of the biggest out there for mainstream. Probably not. I wouldn't say they're the best manufacturer, but I would say they're probably the biggest by volume. They make really awesome soldering irons that are easily accessible due to their really low prices. And low price does not mean bad quality in this case. So they show temperatures. It's about a graph of the temperatures versus time for alkaline and nickel metal hydride batteries. And nickel metal hydride obviously is a little more like lithium ion, where your power delivery is pretty linear. Obviously alkaline sucks, so after a certain point it just drops off. But the crazy thing is, does it show it on here? Yeah. Alkaline batteries, 70 minutes. That is insane. Out of 4 AA batteries, you can get 70 minutes of use, which is pretty awesome to me considering how cheap AA batteries are. And if you use nickel metal hydride rechargeables, you could get 120 minutes. So that's actually pretty impressive. I was expecting this thing to have a really short battery life, but apparently not. It says maintains a soldering temperature above 600 Fahrenheit. Quick change tip. So the tip is changeable. It's not one where, you know, it burns out and you gotta throw the thing away. And it's got instructions here for how to change the tip. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. So what I'm gonna do, I got one of my old phones here, and I got a stopwatch loaded. I know it's kind of partially out of focus. I'm gonna switch this on, and I'm gonna get some of my lead-free solder here. Here it is, in case you want to try this at home. It's the lead-free stuff that has, what was it, aluminum and silver, and it's lead-free, and I'm absolutely anti-lead, and I'll probably make a separate video on why you should definitely avoid lead like the plague. I know there are videos out there of people like Dave Jones who say, don't use the lead-free crap, use the leaded crap. No way. I tend to agree with him on most things, but that's one area I completely disagree. Do not get leaded solder. There's a big reason why there's an ROHS movement, and I've seen firsthand what lead can do to you. It'll kill you, and I've seen that firsthand. So, well, actually, okay, fine. I'll quick story. In high school, I took a soldering or a stained glass class, and obviously to do stained glass, you solder the glass together. You put a metal foil around the edges of the glass, and then you solder each piece together with a soldering iron and leaded solder. They didn't really make a big deal of it, considering it was a school. They just kind of said, you know, make sure you wash your hands after you do soldering, especially if you're going to eat. And then that's it. That's all they said. They didn't really make safety a really big deal. My instructor, I don't know if his name really matters, but his name was Bruce Barsh. He was a really awesome art teacher. He taught the stained glass class, and I think he did it as a hobby in his free time, and he'd been teaching it for years and years. We didn't have any kind of soldering fume extractor, so despite soldering with leaded solder, you know, those fumes are going straight up into my face. So that actually kind of worries me that, you know, the school didn't give a crap about that, and that's how we were soldering. But long story short, 3 or 4 years after I graduated high school, I found out that he got brain cancer and died. And I don't know if you've heard about, you know, back when we had leaded fuel and lead pipes, but that was the thing. Everybody got brain cancer and died. And we realized lead's really bad. We should probably move away from it. And plus, if you have leaded solder on your PCBs, what happens to your toaster and your old computer, your old monitors, whenever they go bad? You throw them away and they end up in a dumpster, and then that gets into the ground. Do you want lead, which causes brain cancer, in your drinking water? No way. Don't use leaded stuff. Use this. If you have a decent soldering iron, this flows just as well. Not quite as well as lead, but if you get the good stuff, it's pretty comparable, and I've done just fine with it. So, sorry, that was I digress. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start stopwatch. I'm gonna switch this thing on, and then we're gonna see how long it takes for this thing to get hot enough to be able to melt some solder. And the packaging actually says, I think I just read that to you a second ago, 40 seconds. So first thing, I'm going to put on my safety glasses. I'm going to switch this on and hit the start button at the same time. Okay, so it is on. 17. So we're at the halfway mark. 40 is what it's supposed to melt at. Oh, 26 seconds and it already melts solder. Look at that. 26 seconds. That is... That's what I like. That's a company that underrates their items. So even in a worst case scenario, you'll probably meet or beat their advertised number, which is 40 seconds. We did it in 26 seconds. Considering this is powered by 4 AA batteries, that is really impressive, and I think this is awesome. And this is definitely going to be really handy to have on hand. Is it going to replace my bench soldering iron? No. It's way superior for many reasons, but this is actually better than another soldering iron I happen to have, so I thought it would be interesting to do a 3-way comparison just to show you the difference between low-end garbage that you should not buy, and pretty much everyone on YouTube or online agrees that you shouldn't buy a soldering iron that does not have a base station. So anyways, this is switched off, and the nice thing, I can put this cover on and I can set it down and not worry about it burning my ESD mat up. Okay, so I'm going to do this last, but this is what I'm going to compare it against. See right there? Radio Shack. I don't even remember when I bought this, but I can tell you that this is a pile of shit. It's 40 watt, 120 volt, obviously. I'm in the United States. These suck. They don't have any temperature adjustment. They're low power. It's only 40 watts. There's no base station. Generally speaking, if you get a soldering iron that looks like this and there's no base station, there's no temperature adjustment, they're garbage, and you're just going to waste your time and potentially waste money by lifting solder pads from this not being hot enough to melt solder, but you know, you're leaving enough heat on your pad for long enough that you actually cause the pads to lift, and you could ruin your entire your PCB. And so these actually can cost you more money. And I think you can get them for $15, $20. They're not worth even $1 to me anyways. I don't know what the hell you could use this for, because I'm going to show you in a second how terrible this is, even compared to this. This thing smokes it. But I will show you what a high-end soldering iron can do. So we'll stop the original timer. Oops. Okay. So... this is my JBC soldering iron. This right here is actually the base station for it, and then it's got a wire that goes to the like the cradle unit. So when it's sitting in its cradle, it goes to, I think, at like 200 Celsius, and then whenever it's like a power saving mode, and then whenever you pull it off the cradle, it senses that, and then it kicks it up to whatever your set temperature is, which I think it's like 350 Celsius or something. I'm gonna leave it out of the cradle and then turn it on so it'll immediately start heating up, and then we can see how quickly this thing will melt solder. And spoiler alert, it is really ridiculously quick. So just to show you that this is not preheated or on, touching it with my bare hands, it's cold. Okay, so I'm gonna reach back here, switch this on, and I think it takes a second to boot up, so I'm gonna wait until I see the screen show the temperature on the screen, and then I'm going to hit start, just to make sure I give this an actual fair shot, which it's not going to be fair, but here we go. I'll go ahead and start it, whatever. You can see the temperature rising. Crap. There you go. Melt solder. I couldn't even pick the solder up quick enough, and it's already ready to melt. So, yeah, if you get a really high-end soldering iron like this JBC, I think there's some other brands that have some really awesome ones like this, Metcal and some other stuff, which are probably more affordable than this. These are actually pretty expensive. I don't remember what I paid, but I know that most of their products are pretty close to getting up to the 4-digit range. So it's a really awesome iron. Here, watch. I'll put it. You'll see 350C. I'll put it in the cradle, and then you'll see the temperature go down because it goes in sleep mode. So it's at 305, 290, 280, 275. I think it goes down to 200 or 250. So the nice thing is it saves energy. It keeps your room from heating up whenever as much. It keeps your room from heating up as much whenever you leave it in the cradle. But as soon as you pick it up, it just rockets up to your set temperature, and I mean it does it quickly. So let's see how long it takes from sitting in the cradle to being able to melt solder from its sleep temperature, which is 200 Celsius, I believe. So it should stop right there at 200. No, maybe it goes cooler. $175? I don't know. I don't actually remember what the sleep mode temperature was. Well, I don't see it budging below 180, so 180 must be where it sits at. So it's at 180 Celsius. I'm not even going to bother. Well, I guess for timing purposes, I could leave this running. As soon as I pull this off the stand, I'm gonna try to start to melt solder, and then we'll see how quickly it gets up to temperature, despite going into like a power saving mode. So 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. That is incredible, super awesome, and not waiting around all day for the thing to heat up does save a lot of time. And is it worth the money? No. It's worth the money if you're a business and you have technicians that solder all day long. In that case, yes, absolutely buy one. It'll pay itself off in the long run via time, productivity, clean solder joints, power saving, because you know you gotta pay your bills, and if your electric bill's high because you don't have a power saving mode, that feature right there could save your company a ton of money if you've got a whole warehouse full of technicians. So for a hobbyist, it's kind of if you've got a pretty decent budget and you can afford it, you won't be sad that you got it. But for the average hobbyist, I would say was it the Hakko FX-901, and there's like a 900 something. Any of the Hakko stuff with a base unit and a temperature control knob, any of those are awesome, and they will do the job. They're more than adequate. They'll heat up way quicker than something like this, which actually, let's do that next. So I'm going to turn the old JBC off. Okay, so I don't really have a stand for this, so I'm going to plug this in right here. And there's no on or off switch, so basically as soon as I plug this in, I'm just going to have to manually... Actually, first I should show you this is not hot. It's cold. Okay, so as soon as I plug this in, it's going to heat up, so basically I need to start the timer as soon as I plug it in. So here I go, 3, 2, 1. Actually, while it's heating up, I already know it's not going to melt solder. I used water to cool it off earlier, so that's what the popping and crackling sound is. I'm gonna get out the thermal camera. That way, this thing is so slow, you're not gonna believe that it's on and getting hot. So I'm gonna use the thermal camera to show you that it is actually on, and it just sucks. So there you go. The iron is definitely on. Oh man, those lights. $106. Okay, so we're already at over a minute, which the Hakko battery powered one took what, 26 seconds? So I don't know when I bought this one. It doesn't look too terribly abused, so I assume it's somewhat new. but I'll tell you for sure that I've had one just like this one. It might have even been the same model a long time ago, and I used to solder with it. And you know, they come with a little plastic stand with a little metal clip, and you can set it on there so you don't burn your desk. I remember having to plug it in and then just leaving it there for like, I don't know, 5 minutes and let it heat up to where it'll actually melt solder. Because basically you'd be sitting here like a fool thinking this thing's going to be able to melt your solder when it can't. Man, I'm shaky. Was it getting close? Thought I saw some smoke. Well, let's see how hot this is. It's reading about 190. And then right before I just stopped, I was up to like 197. And that's actually, that's Fahrenheit. That's really sad. So one thing I never considered or looked into was melting point of this solder versus leaded solder. Maybe leaded solder has a lower melting point. I don't know for sure. I thought it was higher. Oh, there we go. 3 minutes and 46 seconds in, I'm finally able to melt solder. And I mean just barely. When I'm pushing this on there, I can feel it cooling it enough to where the temperature's already dropping back down. Yeah, it's barely able to melt it. I don't know if you know what I mean. If you've done soldering before, I think you probably know what I mean. It's where you're pushing the solder against the tip, and it's not melting it quickly enough to where you can actually feel the tip hitting and giving you resistance like you're running into a wall. There, now it's starting to melt quick enough where I could actually do some soldering with it. And if you ever look at the, that's what JBC is really known for, is their quick recovery time. They actually graph the temperature recovery time when they're soldering things that wick the heat away. And I mean, they recover so quick. They have a crazy algorithm. They put their thermocouples like really close to the end of the tip. And they're actually hot swappable tips. They have I'll do a separate review video of the JBC sometime. They have a little thing where you can hook the tip in it, pull it up, and then put another tip on. And I have multiple tips, so I'll actually show that in action. You can switch your tips while it's on and hot and immediately continue to solder. It is incredible. So if you look at the price tag, you'll get a little sticker shock most likely, but you'll understand that it is worth the money, and you'll see why, you know, it's worth what it is. But almost 4 minutes for this stupid thing to heat up, and it's getting its power from the mains, 120 volts, 40 watts, and it got smoked by 4 AA battery wireless Hakko. And it's just plastic without the batteries in it. This thing weighs so light, it feels like some cheap plastic toy. It really does. And the yellow and the blue coloring doesn't help it look like a toy either. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this piece of crap. So, could you solder your projects with one of these things? Sure. It obviously got hot enough to melt solder, right? So, you technically could, yeah, but it's a painfully long time. You have to leave it there heating up. Some people get impatient and will set it on the stand and walk away while it heats up, and that's kind of a fire hazard, leaving it unattended. Unlike a Hakko or any of the other brands, you know, that come with a base cradle, these don't. You usually just get like a little plastic thing with a little metal clip that you lean this against, which it could easily fall out of, versus, let's see if I can get this over here into the shot. Ones like this, you actually have a cradle you set it in. and then you can just leave it and not worry about it burning your house down. So anyways, back to this guy. Let me move this out of the way so I don't burn myself. It is definitely hot. So, is this worth $32? Absolutely. In fact, I think this is worth more than $32. I would pay $50 for this thing. So the price is definitely right. They priced it to sell. It's so light without the batteries in it that, I mean, there's got to be nothing to this. I'm sure it cost them nothing to make it. But Hakko's a good name brand that we've all known and are comfortable with. If you're a hobbyist, you definitely probably own a Hakko soldering iron, or if you don't, you probably have. I have one somewhere. I should break it out sometime. Mine's one of the older ones, but it still works today. It's an awesome iron, but it's tiny. It's got some good safety features. It's actually really powerful for being powered by batteries. 70-hour battery life. That's... Wait, is that right? No, 70 minutes. 70 hour would be insane. 70-minute battery life, which is just incredible for portable battery-powered soldering. It's got a nice safety cover for the tip, so you can just put the cover on, throw it in your bag. Quality, I mean, it feels cheap, but it gets the job done. I don't think you can complain for $32. I'm sure they could have increased the quality on it, but then you'd be paying a lot more for it. So I think this is the build quality is perfect for what it is and what it's priced. So if you have one of these crappy soldering irons, honestly, this battery-powered one would be an upgrade. Okay, and another thing too. What I like about this, the tip is short, so I can get my fingers all the way down to here to do the soldering, and my JBC's like that. It's a really thin pencil style. This is a little on the thick side, but you can't complain because it's, you know, they built it to be portable. As rare. My JBC, you know, it's really thin like a pencil, so it's ergonomic, and you can get in there and it's really precise because everyone's already used to using pens and pencils, so this feels really comfortable in your hand and you're ready to rock. But the good thing is you can get close to your tip, and in the same manner, I can get that close to the tip with this guy, albeit it's a lot thicker, but still you can get pretty close to the tip. Now, what you don't get is with this guy. This is as close as you can get. Even here, my fingers can feel the heat coming off of this thing. Just a terrible, terrible design. I don't know why they design these things like this. Your tip is all the way over here, so you know you move a little bit where your fingers are, and look how much the very end of it's moving. So it's going to be really, really, really hard to be precise and do precise soldering with one of these. If you're going to solder SMD stuff with one of these, forget about it. You're just not going to do it. And if you can, you must be the soldering master. But yeah, these suck. If you got one, please get another iron. You can get used Hakko ones on eBay for probably like 20 bucks. That'll blow that out of the water. And you know, there's actually that style, I guess what would we call that, a wand style soldering iron. I think Weller makes one that's actually pretty decent. It's got a temperature control knob on it, I think, and the wattage is high enough that it actually heats up pretty quickly, and I've read decent reviews on it. It's kind of the, if you can't afford like the low-end Hakko with a base station, the cheaper one, I think it's the FX-888. If you can't afford that, then they suggest to get that Weller one. So maybe I'll have to pick that up and do a review of it and see what it's all about. But yeah, this specific one or any others that don't have temperature control, don't even waste your money. You know, wait one more paycheck and then buy the Weller or the JBC, not JBC, or the Hakko. I mean, you can get the JBC if it's in your budget. Go ahead, you'll be happy with it. But I mean, hell, this thing blows that pile of crap out of the water, and it only cost, you know, $10 to $15 more. So I guess that's my way too long review of the Hakko FX-901. But for $32, it is really awesome. And you know, if this were a standard wired soldering iron, it wouldn't be that impressive to me. I'd say 26 seconds is it's kind of on the slow side compared to one of the base unit. It's kind of fat, so you know when you're holding it, you can get pretty close to the tip, but you can't be quite as precise as if you have a little pencil style one like with the JBC. Even the Hakko ones are a lot thinner. They're the ones at the base station. So, you know, if this were a standard wired soldering iron, I'd review it differently, and I would say that it's not really that great. It feels cheap and like you're not getting your money's worth. But for a wireless one, man, this is really great. I like it. So for me, I give it a big thumbs up. I would say if I'm giving a star rating, I would give it 4.5 stars. There's not really much I would recommend for improvement. I mean, obviously I'd say go with like a black or charcoal color because this blue and yellow is kind of obnoxious, but it's their company color, so I guess I can't knock them for that. Build quality, yeah, I mean, they could use better materials, but then the price would go up, so they built this to a price point, and can't complain. If you do RC stuff and you're at the racetrack and you want to repair your RC car and do some soldering, fix a broken solder joint or something, I think this would be a really good addition to your tool bag. Or if you do any kind of work that involves soldering and you know you're going to be away from your workbench, I think this would be awesome for you too. And even for your workbench, actually, if you got the $32 laying around, or you got like an Amazon gift card and don't know what to get, this wouldn't be a bad thing to get. This kind of liberates you from the wall outlet, so you can kind of go wherever you want along your workbench to do some soldering without the annoying cable dangling off the end, knocking stuff over and ripping wires out of your breadboard, and you know, yeah. But I think I've rambled on enough. Hakko wireless battery powered soldering iron, awesome. Get it. See ya.